Alright, so today I'm going to show you how command counters go, the little triangle things that you put on your race card. Enjoy! Okay, so for this example I'm going to use this group here, which I'll talk about the species later on. But as you can see on one of your cards here, it talks about special abilities, what they start with, trade goods. All this I'll go over later. Even it tells you how the rounds go. It gives you step-by-step instructions. Everyone has this on their card in the second section, so that's really neat. Another thing it has is all the cost for all those units I talked about, or how much they are in battle and how fast they can move. All the things I mentioned in the last video are right here on everyone's card. The other things, though, that we're going to talk about today is these cards. These command counters is what they're called. And at the beginning of the game, everyone will start with this amount. You'll start with 2 strategy allocation counters here, 3 in the fleet supply, and 3 in the command pool. Now, how these works, by the way, they're interchangeable. On the other side is a fleet, so you could use them for both. Now, how strategy allocations count. There may be cards in the deck, and we get to some of the phases here, which I'll talk about later. It may say, hey, you need to use a strategy allocation, and you can do this. So if you want to, you can use one of your strategy allocation command counters in here. For command pools, that helps you move. So for instance, if I was, and let me get this example here that I have previously set up. Let's say you wanted to activate a system. You had to use a command counter from your command pool to move it. You cannot use a strategy allocation from there. It has to be from the command pool. Now, if I was to, let's say I wanted to go into this area here, I would activate it, and then I can move my ships on that turn onto that planet, or into that area, I should say, not to a certain planet since there are 2 there. So that's how you would move. You could activate it. Now, if each one of these ships, let's say, had the ability to move 2 spaces, I could activate this and move them 1, 2. Now, if there were some opposing forces right here, I could not pass through. I would have to stop and fight those opposing forces. I mean, even if, I don't really have enemies, these people over here, let's say, are just a different group and they're not my enemy. Well, the thing is, though, I have to stop and I have to fight if I'm in their area. You can't just pass through them. So you would make sure that the area is clear and you can go 1, 2 over there. That's, again, if all of these ships can move 2, if they have the technology to move that fast. Now, let's say I wanted to activate the system, but I wanted to bring all of these ships in as well. Now, could I do that? Technically, yes, but first, you need to make sure you have enough tokens in the fleet supply, because the fleet supply dictates how many ships you can have in one sector. Now, you see I have 3 in the fleet supply here, but it looks like I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in that sector. That would not work. I can't do that. I can only have the maximum of 3. Now, at the end of every round, it says you would take up all your command counters, discard them, and you get 2 more. So you could add 2 more. You can also rearrange how you want it. So let's say I don't want a strategy allocation there. Maybe I want 1 less command counter there, and maybe one of the 2 that I got back, I put in there. And let's just say I had another one that I put as a command pool. So that would be how it would look now. Well, so let's go back to that scenario. So if I used one of my command tokens and put it there, well, now I could move 6 ships onto 1 hectagon because I have 6 ships in my fleet supply. Now, you can't move these around during the phase, during the round. At the end of every round, that's when you can reallocate your funds. Now, you don't have to spend all these. Like, you don't have to spend all your strategy allocations. You don't have to spend all your command counters during the game. You can hold on to them. In the next game, you'll get more and more and more and more. Of course, you'll want to use a lot of your actions here, but you don't have to use all of them to play the game. And that's kind of just a short, brief instruction about how command counters work. It is very simple, and movement the same way as well. Now, when we get to warfare, that's another video. So there's command counters. It's really a game of strategy there that on your race sheet, and I'll go over strategy allocations later on when we get to strategy cards. You'll see where you use strategy allocation counters. Command pools, though, are for movement. And like I said, if the fleet supply, you're wanting to move a bunch of your units onto 1 space, you better make sure you have the fleet supply ready to support it. I love the balance of this because I know in some of these videos I keep saying next round, and what I should be saying is next phase, because there are several rounds and then you go to the next phase. So I'll try to correct myself when I can catch it. But at the end of a phase is when you would get those command counters, take them off, put them in your pool, and you only get 2 back. So if you spent 4 or whatever, you're only getting 2 back. Now, yeah, there's strategy cards we'll talk about later where you can get more command counters, and believe me, you will need them. Because this game is all about getting the right balance. And by the way, you don't have to spend all your command counters through that phase. You can save some. I've seen some people sandbag a few because on the next phase, that's when they're going to make their big move and they need every command counter they can get. All right, folks, that's it for this video. I'll see you again on the next one.